All right. Oh, my. Okay. There we go. Turning off preview. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm Brian, your host. I don't want to say with the most because that's like something straight out of my 80s when I grew up there. Um, hope you're having a good day. It's oh wait, I gotta move some stuff over. So I'm damn, Lady P's Lady P's on one early. Wow. Host with the right required amount. Yes, yes. Yes. Now I am not the hostess with the mostest. But yeah, what can I tell you? It's been a rough I don't want to say rough couple of weeks. It's been a very eventful couple of weeks for me. Um Friday, we did our Go Lang, which was great. Spent the weekend, of course, packing again. Um, this office is less than a week and a half, or less than a week, probably the 15th. So about 8 days from being painted. Got a couple more times on that, but I really had to tear as much as I could down. So I think I'm at bare bones right now with regards to streaming and everything. So um, one of the things I also had to plan for was looks like they've already shut your power off running on batteries. No, I just I put one of my lamps away, I packed it away, and um, yeah, I actually have my ring light, which I'm just I have my big ass ring light that I have. I just have it kind of draped over the top of my SLR lens, so it just kind of sits there like that, which is actually pretty good because I spent God knows how long trying to figure out how to mount it properly and like putting it up on my monitor and stuff. And um, I took down the monitors. They're no longer on the monitor arms. They're just sitting and they're on the stands on the desk. And the one thing I had to remember was I had to plan ahead because it was like I'm not fully packed, but when it comes time to actually like truly pack up the stuff on the desk, I need to have boxes for those. So I've got a handful of boxes over there, and uh, oh God, I hope not. Um, so yeah, one of the things that I'm oh yeah, no, then yeah, no, I have ring devices as well, but oh, so I've got so I had a really over I figured out I had a really overly complicated setup beforehand, and it was convoluted. So what I'm doing now is everything is being routed through a single battery pack. The power for the camera, which I hope is still on, the ring camera light, and this one's the charger that's charging it up. So, and it's funny, having to MacGyver up a bunch of things. Ooh, that's actually getting quite far. 31. Okay. Trying to simplify things. I find that I'm going to have a new office, so I may actually do things quite a bit differently in respect to that. So. My adapter desk will go away. I'm going to probably sell it or try to figure out if somebody in Seattle wants it. Otherwise, we're going to have to donate it. And yeah, simplification. Simplification is the word of the day. And spring cleaning. I mean, we have spring cleaned to the nth degree here. I actually don't have a tote anymore. You know what a tote is, right? So this is my gaming chair, which I haven't used in forever. Um, I used to have a tote with a bunch of cables and stuff in it. I don't have that anymore. I cleaned everything out. It's gone. Um, First time I think I hit peak tote in Austin when I lived there. I had two full ones of these with cables and shit in it. I got rid of everything. The only thing in here is a handful of USB cables. I plan on putting most everything on this desk in this tote, and then I have a couple of boxes for my monitors, which I'm taking with me. I have a separate camera bag for the SLR. The mic stand will go in here. My work computer will go in a bug out bag. And I have a box for the workstation, the streaming box. And I don't have one of these anymore. It's really weird. Yeah, I think I hit peak tote with a bunch of useless shit in it back in like just when we moved here, I think in 2014. So it's kind of cool to see that stuff gotten rid of. But I got rid of a ton of stuff. Probably, well, some of it was probably 20 years old. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Lady P, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. I'm wanting to believe that winter is over. That damn little rodent on the East Coast, is done with his 6 weeks of winter, and we're gonna, get done with stuff. If you live in Minnesota, sorry, I heard that they got a winter storm warning going on there. I bought 100 of the heavy duty ones. Everything I move this next move must fit in 100 heavy duty totes. My wife, I wouldn't say made fun of me, but she was like, we bought all these moving boxes and you're not using them. And I was like, well, yeah, that's because I was planning ahead. All of the stuff in my office pretty much went into Amazon boxes that we collected. I mean, yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. Amazon makes a good box. And so I've been using Amazon boxes for things. I've been collecting them for about the past 3 to 4 months. And yeah, moving boxes are expensive. And that's a good racket right there, the moving box racket. But yeah, I mean, this is my box for my CPU. And literally been using boxes like this and just redoing them. One thing I will tell you, if you're moving though, don't use duct tape. Apparently duct tape is not very good. They have packing tape for a reason. Who knew? And the last little bit of my old life and my wife's life, we're getting rid of these things. For you kids out there, these are called compact discs. And so I've been burning all the music from about 30 years worth of my wife's and mine's CDs into Apple iTunes. So I just did one here called the Bee Gees. Bee Gees. I don't know who they are. Bee Gees. I don't know. And this is the pile I've done today, which is about 100 or so. Not 100 or so, actually. It's probably about 45. Yeah, the Bee Gees. Bee Gees, greatest, something like that. Yeah, I don't know who they are. Weird. Yeah. Oh, and so my wife's newest joke. She thinks she's so funny. I found this one too. Yeah, Be Afraid. I think it actually has the song on it. But my wife, I think, has set that to be her alarm in the mornings. So she's rickrolling me pretty hard on the reg now. So, but yeah. But yeah, I've gotten rid of 2 of these, and there were about 300 CDs in each one of them. So some of them were game CDs, some of them were movies, but the vast majority was music CDs. Doing about 40 or so a day with my Blu-ray player from Samsung here, and turn that off right now. I have learned something though. iTunes is good for ripping music. It's really shitty for managing music outside of the iTunes library. I've got so many duplicate copies for some reason, and I don't know why. But it is what it is. See, the problem is I don't call her. I don't use my phone like that. But yeah, I could definitely set that as my custom ringtone for her. So that'd be pretty sweet. See, the problem is the Rickroll thing doesn't bother her. I don't know why. Maybe she grew up actually listening to the song before it was a meme. But yeah, it is what it is. So, yeah. So I've burned about 300 CDs so far. But yeah, I mean, Apple does a great job of burning CDs, but really poor job of maintaining the library there. So I've just started uploading them to Google Drive. Who else is here? Oh, okay. So the underscore logician, like I guess the magician, but logician. And thank you for following. And 5739118. not to be confused with 8675309. Followed us as well. Mad Have POU followed. Powd POW P0W3D followed. Tinker Baj, of course, followed. And yeah. Do you know Jenny? Yes. Yeah. I also know Jesse's girl too, so that's a good one. Yeah, I think I'm in my in the CD collection where my wife was firmly in right now. So let's see, what's the next one I've got to burn? Oh, we got some more Biggies. I don't know those. Bad English. Oh yeah, I think we both had Pure Moods. Oh, some David Bowie, some Bread. Pretty much Yacht Rock Radio is coming up in the next 5 or 10 CDs. Um, so I had fun at work. For those of you who don't know, I've been wanting to branch out into more security or non-security related things and having some fun there. And the opportunity came for one of the programs I was working on to do some voiceover work and some announcing work and be a talking donut. I think I mentioned that to a couple folks, but one of the programs I'm working on was doing a donut, being a talking donut. And hey, Super Lolly, hi. So yesterday I had created the script and we had talked about some of these things and we broke them down into 3-minute videos. The idea is we don't want to lose people's attention span. Squirrel. Anyway, so we we scheduled 2 hours to do one of the videos, and it was an introductory video, like hey, basically, welcome to the planet. This is what we're doing. This is why it's different. Here are the overarching goals of our program, etc. And one of the as I was finishing up and we finishing the day, the training person had said, "Hey, thanks. This was fun." And I said, I'd love to have more opportunities to do voiceover work. If y'all have anything, just let me know, and I'd love to help out. And she's like, we have a whole department or a whole group of people who do voiceover volunteers. We call them VOVs. And I was like, wow, okay. So I've signed up for the voiceover volunteers. And she said, we also send you your work, make it available to you so that if you want to build a profile outside of work, you can do so. So I was like, yes. So the other cool thing was I bought a teleprompter. Yeah. And so because I packed my teleprompter away because I am moving as the aforementioned move was happening. Um, yeah. I told her, I was like, hey, I can't do that. So she's like, I have a piece of shit laptop over here for work, and the webcam is garbage because it's the HP webcam. And I was like, well, I have my SLR and I can use that. But the problem was every time I saw it, the video looked a little choppy on the WebEx that we were using. And she's like, well, let me see. So I plugged in. She's like, no, I'm not seeing that. And I was like, hey, okay, cool, great. We'll use the SLR. And we recorded a bunch of stuff. And she used Snagit, which Snagit is a screen capture software. Apparently, it's free-ish, and you can, record certain areas of the screen or what have you. It's probably much lighter weight than an OBS build. So I haven't tried it yet, but if it allows you to create little small bits and do it that way, then that's all gravy. So yeah, you can save videos and everything that way. So I'm sure there's other options. I think Camtasia, I think, is one similar too. I use OBS. Well, the problem is with Lady P, OBS won't run on my laptop. Remember the piece of shit laptop I told you about? Yeah, OBS pretty much grinds my stuff to a halt because I have, let me see, it is a Core i5. And because I'm just a TPM, a shitty little TPM, apparently I have 16 gigs of RAM, but I'm running at about 11 gigs of RAM being used. So I have 4 gigs to like futz with before it decides it wants to crap itself. And my resting CPU rate is at about 25%. Oh, I'm sorry. 47%. While I'm running other things in the background too, but yeah, it's not fun. So needless to say, I can't run OBS on there without everything crawling to a halt. Runs well, of course, Lady P. It runs fine on my i9 as well with 64 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1080, what have you. Yappity yappity yappity. Insert specs here. So yeah, I mean it makes a lot of great sense here. And I have 128 gigs of RAM in this one with 32 cores and a 1080 or a 1650 graphics card. So it works great on my streaming box too. So we managed to make the SLR work because the capture card works. But yeah, it was great fun. And the back to the teleprompter thing. What was the thing I was going to read out loud? Okay. So one of the things she was like, all you have to do is get the camera close enough to the screen, so that way you don't turn your head to read off the script. You just kind of dart your eyes or whatever. So I had my SLR closer to my monitor over here, and I had the font like up real big, and I could just boom boom boom. And she said, yeah, that's great, and apparently that's enough. So you don't have to look at the screen like you're reading from a teleprompter. Hello, my name is Brian, and whatever. So, so I would test out, and we ran it through a couple times. We made sure that it was timed less than 3 minutes. It was pretty fun. So I'm hey Infinity, what's going on? We're not doing Golang today. We're gonna do some security stuff, some stuff in the news, and we're just hanging out and talking on Tuesdays here. So hope you can hang out with us if you'd like. So I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, turn that up. Okay. So it's supposed to be doing its thing, but so there's I think one of the bigger things in the news that happened this week or late last week was that the White House, as part of its larger cybersecurity strategy, has decided that it wants to focus on shifting the burden, according to Bleeping Computer. The national cybersecurity strategy focuses on shifting burden of defending the country's cyberspace towards software vendors and service providers. And there was to say there was a fair bit of discussion at my office was understated. But I believe there's a reason for this, and I believe that reason is that it is much easier for the government to enforce policy on companies than it is on Joe Dog Walker walking down the street. Well, Lady P, in that case, yeah, they haven't a clue of what they're doing, but I don't think that there's any good answer. I think the best solution that they came up with was, vendors got to secure their stuff, right? As we've seen, you can't get users to do stuff unless they're incentivized to do so. And it's one of these things where they're going to start working with, and they said they also acknowledge the collaboration between public and private sectors with international allies, securing the nation against cyber threats. So, there's going to be some companies out there that may be a little unhappy with, specific things. What I'm hoping is it doesn't turn into something like a yearly audit, like a PCI or some shit like that, where it's not really security. It's just, check the boxes and, oh, you're good. They say the federal government will also deepen operational and strategic collaboration with software, hardware, and managed service providers with the capability to reshape something. This is written by a PR person, I think. Main objectives: defending U.S. critical infrastructure, disrupt malicious threat actors. What they forgot about yeeting, open source developers who create red teaming tools and not realizing what the hell they're doing. That would be another one they could get rid of and yeet into the sun. Disruption campaigns must become so sustained and targeted that criminal cyber activity is rendered unprofitable, and foreign government actors engaging in malicious cyber activity no longer see it as an effective means of achieving their goals. Yeah. Without saying Russia and China, I'm sure they were tagged as top threats to U.S. national security. Lady P, will the vendors have access to the nuclear launch codes so they respond to foreign malicious actors? You know the codes are 0000000000, right? You know. Password change is coming up soon, so it's going to be 0000000001. So, I don't know what the right answer is, and something I've learned in my Harvard classes, which we'll talk about that in some of the 7 transformations of leadership. I don't think there's any good answer, right? You can't make people, secure themselves. And I think the problem is that when people buy things, or they buy devices, or they buy software, they are expecting a certain level of trust. And I don't know if I think we want to try hard, but I think there's some market forces at work that are causing things to maybe not be as secure, or we're living in the times of we're trying to find problems to solutions, and problems for solutions, and yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I don't like the yellow light. There we go. I can turn that up just a little bit. But yeah, so there's a fact sheet. Oh, I can put the link to those here. And then the fact sheet, which I think came from the whitehouse.gov. They said defending critical infrastructure will give American people confidence. I don't want to say will. Yeah, okay. Expanding the use of minimum cybersecurity requirements in critical sectors to ensure national security and public safety, and harmonizing regulations to reduce the burden of compliance. Okay. Disrupt and dismantle threat actors using all instruments of national power, malicious cyber actors incapable of threatening by strategically employing all tools of national power to disrupt adversaries, engaging in private sector in disruption activities through scalable mechanisms. I think we've already seen companies like Microsoft doing some of that, where they're kicking C2s to the curb or what have you. Shape market forces to drive security and resilience. We'll place responsibility on those within our digital ecosystem that are best positioned to reduce risk and shift the consequences of poor cyber away from the most vulnerable, in order to make our digital ecosystem more trustworthy by promoting privacy and security of personal data, shifting liability for software products to promote secure development practices. Okay. And ensuring federal grant programs promote investments in new infrastructure that are secure and resilient. Oh God, Lady P, yeah, you have. As somebody who's worked in the government sector, and I talked with my wife today, I was like, when we move back to San Diego, if it ever, the idea of a new job ever came up, I would not be working for a defense contractor or the government again, because it's like I'm used to a certain velocity of things, or being able to say, this is stupid, don't do it. And yet I would be working in the exact wrong place for a defense contractor or the government. So, yeah, for 1,000 channel points, list one time when the government, any government, has reduced compliance burdens. Yeah. See, that's why I said I think the problem is they're going to turn this into, like, you're going to need to follow CMMC requirements. You're going to need to follow NIST 800 requirements. For those companies that are government contractors, there's going to be more hurdles they have to jump through for certain things. Or third party vetting process is going to have to be codified so that everybody understands. I could see a registry, potentially like a Better Business Bureau kind of thing, where they're having to keep track of who's being ugly and who's not. Invest in a resilient future. Strategic investments and coordinated collaborative action. The United States will continue to lead the world. Yeah, this is kind of garbage. I read through this the first time, and I'm reading through it again and actually out loud hearing myself say it, and it's like, why are you saying will? Because I mean, these are goal statements, I guess, but I don't know how you measure those goals. What is it going to look like? Computer code has bugs, always has, always will. Solution involves going after the criminal, not blaming the victim. I I I will see yes to part of it, but I think the victim, do you blame the lightning for striking the person or the person wearing the metal armor on top of a mountain proclaiming all gods are bastards? The lightning has some blame. The person in metal armor, yes. See, the problem is that person will not install the lightning rod because that's a risk and a threat mitigator. And they won't do that because it costs another 20 cents or something of, you know, aluminum or some kind of thing. And we can't have 20 more cents in our little IoT devices because that's not a price point that people will pay. They won't pay $2 and, you know, they'll pay $59.20, but they won't pay $59.40 for an IoT device, you know. We had to install lightning rod. Oh, it's too expensive. We're not going to use that. I mean, I'm in discussions where it's like, if it's more than $5, you can't make money on it, and they won't put it out. It's just one of those things. It's nice to have, but if you know, security's not cheap, and if it's too expensive, it won't make money, and they won't kick it out there. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll have to see what happens with this. If it's just, you know, they had 18 months when the original memo came out about, you know, stiffening, you know, security requirements, government moving into the zero trust arena. You know, everybody had to be doing X, Y, and Z. I think we're hitting, what was it? It was 2022, I think is when that one came out. So I want to say by June 2023, we're supposed to be like, you know, all the government's supposed to be all zero trusted and what have you, and we'll see what happens with that. So, so this is an article I had read for my class, for the classes of. Oh, what she said. Lady P says if the government wants to be useful, send SEAL teams out to cap a bunch of criminal nerds around the world. It wouldn't be too hard, but you know. Something about sovereignty, I think, is involved there, Lady P, where it's like, you know, something sovereignty. And then, you know, it's like, well, the criminal nerd put out a software application used for red team operations, and now the bad guys are using it. So who's the criminal nerd then, right? The fine line between threat actor and, you know, harmless fun on red team operations is a little blurry sometimes. I'd love to control my nerds. Unfortunately, they put out things like Bloodhound and Metasploit and, you know, the criminals using the software unlawfully. Is that because they violated the terms of service, Lady P, or the licensing agreement that, you know, criminals are want to follow in terms of licensing agreements? I don't know what the right answer is, but you know, sometimes us folks in InfoSec don't make things easier for, you know, themselves, and you know, the threat actors are gleefully clapping their hands when they see another red team tool that's available for use. Laws I previously spoke about. Oh, yeah. Laws I. Well, okay. So, Lady P, in this respect, the criminal using the software unlawfully, we have to know who those criminal nerds are first. So it's going to require the victim to actually do some things like set up monitoring and logging and, you know, doing important things that help their environment be more useful in detecting things. And of course, attribution is hard. But at some point, like, going back to the blaming the victim thing, I can't help you. You didn't have cameras. You didn't have, you don't have logs. You don't have patches. You don't have this. You don't have that. I don't know what to tell you. So I think the victims are going to have to help themselves if they're going to do stuff. And if, there's going to be some victim blaming, I think, in this case, where it's like, you didn't do your due diligence. You didn't do your due care. So you do get hacked. So that is what it is. Or, it could have been much less worse if you had, logging, or you had gotten rid, not allowed your WordPress to be, connected internally to your network, or what have you. So, let me pull up some screenshots that I have here. I'm going to show you some slides of my vacation. I take mad screenshots of things. Think of a whole bunch of APT actors that you can easily point a finger at, get sudden terminal lead poisoning. There'd be less of little guys willing to risk it. Possible. I mean, yeah. Where's my screenshots out? Share X. There it is. Screenshots. Yes, there we go. Okay, so come on, pop that up. There we go. Okay, so that's a QR code. Let me add window capture. See pictures. Right now I'm on a lake shore now, sitting in the sun shore. Where is that? Huh, it's really weird. It won't show the pictures. Huh. That is really weird. Huh. Oh crap. So one of the things, let me see. So there was some, let me see, can I copy this location? Copy as path, there we go. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. So in my Harvard class this week, leadership principles, one of the things in class they were trying to teach us about were things like the 7 factors of how to be a good leader. And there's other ways of doing it, but this is the way Harvard is doing it. I don't expect this to be the only way of doing it. As a matter of fact, somebody posted up in our chat about like the top 10 leadership theories in, what was it, 10 leadership theories. I spelled leadership wrong. Yeah, this is it. I don't understand how there could be 10 leadership theories that every manager should master in 2023. But apparently there are. Boink. There we go. I can't give you the link to this one because, obviously it's, the link local on my ShareX screen here. So, oh, okay. So there's authenticity, the quality of being true to oneself and genuine in interaction with others. Competence, the capacity to do the work of leadership and to take the team where it needs to go. Humility, making space for and acknowledging others' contributions, recognizing your own areas of limitation. I hit that one quite a bit, the humility side there. If you can master 10 of them in a year, they're not See, that's the thing. I'm like, I don't understand. So the transactional theory or management theory, the theory of transformation, theory of contingencies, theory of situations, the great man theory. Great man theory. Okay. The trait theory, the behaviorist theory, behavioral theory, behaviorist, behavioral, functional theory, the integrated psychological theory. My worry is that if you tried to master or even follow any one of these or 2 or 3, you're going to have maybe some cross, not contamination, but it's like oh, I need to do this one thing, but the other one says not to do this thing. What do I do? And it's like, I think the, I don't know what the answer is, but there's, yeah, they conflict. Yes. Thank you, Lady P. I'm out of words. So I'm out of words. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I think that there's probably some good ones here. I haven't really looked through these. It was one that somebody had posted a link up to, and I made the joke. I was like, "Wow, 10 of them!" It's like, and then of course, none of these look like the ones that are that Harvard mentions, which is these 7 here. Mhm. But yeah, so I was trying to work through this and some of the things that they mention in here. Let me go. Let me see. No. Let's see where is it. Oh no, okay. Yeah. Copy link. Copy path. So that one of the questions I asked you during the class was if you had to identify your own personal core of motivation, select these motivators that are most driving to you. So one of the things that they were teaching was functional leadership, and also like how to take these qualities and bring them to work and teach. And I had to wonder how many organizations how many organizations have a culture where it's exact opposite of this? Like, there's no warmth, or there's no humility. It's like a lot of managers are, they think they know it all, or they're not overly, they don't make space or acknowledge contributions. How many organizations have people worked at where it's like, oh, I can cite examples where somebody has taken somebody else's thunder, or um, you know I'm not to to be honest, I would say I'm not overly authentic in some cases. You know, uh, like humility is dishonesty for you? You mean like humility, the opposite of humility is dishonesty, or why is humility dishonesty? I'm gonna shut my door for a second. Which is another thing I haven't done in a few months. Because for me, because I do know it all, if I present as humble, it's just, oh, I can see that. I am not, so in my terms, I'm not a, wow, shutting that door makes things really echoey in here. Um, I I tend to try to defer to people that I know are the SMEs on things, and my interaction with folks is I try to defer to them whenever possible because I may not know the context. Sometimes I'll come in and I'll say something and they'll be like, ah, you weren't here for the meeting that happened on Thursday evening at midnight. And I was like, no, I was asleep. So a lot of times I don't understand the entire context of something. And so I do try to defer whenever possible, or be, uh, like I don't know everything, or, I used to have to be the technical person. So when the technical people are in the call, I try to go, listen to this person. I am not, fully vested in that, but I am, I'd like to believe I'm a pretty okay bullshit detector now because I used to bullshit a lot myself. So, but it's interesting because, we walked through various examples here and case studies of companies like Sodexo, and there's a couple of others that they were talking about with this. And my feedback was that not every organization that's a tech or an internet company um, are the same, and anything outside of tech and internet may have a different culture, may treat these differently. Like, maybe we don't have time for humility. You got to be in there. You have to know your stuff. There's companies out there that are like thinking that because you're a technical PM that you should be, diving deep. If you have a T, you should be like super deep and not very wide. or, you know, uh, and so I found it interesting because I don't tell the people that I work for in the class, so I keep a lot of my comments generic, which I guess would be an authentic kind of thing too, because I'm not being true to and genuine in interactions with people. But I I'm getting a lot out of this class, which is great. Probably more than I've gotten out of a lot of classes before, and I think maybe it's because I'm at that point in my career where it makes sense. Some of these classes that I've taken for like change management and those was several years ago, and it was like I didn't understand it because I worked for a startup. And some of these classes are made for people in big orgs, not startups necessarily. So, but it's just cool to see, these kinds of things pop up where you can, let me see, where's yeah, leadership in 3 ways. So, path. So the leadership styles that they're trying to show in this is a constellation of dimensions to capture how you're experienced by others, set of function or practices that enable others to get things done, and a motivational needs that orient what you value and tend to pursue. So, and then Mia Menz is the was one of the people that they did for. She works for Cushman and Wakefield now. She moved over in 2014, I think, something like that. So she works for the real estate agency or the corporate real estate agency kind of thing. So Sodexo, there she is. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a very diverse, company types, and of course, Mia and Javier and a couple of other folks from a multinational corporation. So it's not just all U.S. based folks. Um, but it's interesting to see these things and understand them. And what's good is I tend to do, and I know, yeah. See, I'm boring the hell out of people, but um, the examples that they're giving are like, hey, I do those things, and it wasn't one of those things where it was like I did not know how to manage people or things. It was more along the lines of um, what you know. It's what made sense logically to me. So I so far the two of the three classes that I've taken for this management certification from Harvard is I'm not completely out in left field on some of these things. So it's good to see. And what's helpful is I've actually got examples of managers who are doing similar things. So it's like I don't work for a completely shitty company, which is the other thing that's kind of scary, to be honest. So oh, there I am again. Okay. So so this was an interesting one. We're gonna go back to security now, so people can come back. You can come back and we're doing the security ha-has now. Black Lotus, also a magic card, but in this case, it's a malware type. So this was from the 6th, which puts it about 2 days ago, a day ago. Okay. According to Dan Gooden over at Ars Technica, stealthy UEFI malware bypassing secure boot enabled by unpatchable Windows flaw. So, researchers on Wednesday announced major security find. World's first known instance of real world malware that can hijack a computer's boot process, even when secure boot and other advanced protections are enabled and fully running on updated versions of Windows. This is funny because I actually have his card right here. We talked to John Aaron and Brendan. Oh God, that hurts. I can't remember his last name. Double check. I believe he had posted something up the last couple days here. Nothing secret here. These are all just people I follow or have posted something. So, damn, I forget his name. Brendan something. That's what I get. Let me see. Breakingsecurity.com. If you're interested in checking out the podcast. Jared Brennan. That's why I got it wrong. It's Jared Brennan. Had talked about some of the things, and John does some software that is supposed to help detect against things like UEFI and whatever. Hey, Digital Warhead, what's up? Hello. Thank you for coming to CSEC East last week, by the way. That was the first one we did where I wasn't technically the organizer, so that was really nice. We met in Bellevue and had about a dozen people. Oh, I actually finally listened to an episode of the podcast again, picked right up where I left off, 2020-009. Okay, so I will tell you, some of the older stuff, I'm almost thinking about maybe discontinuing those because I was like, let's see, 2020-009. Some of this stuff, I was like, man, what was I thinking back then? I was on some kind of crack or something. Oh, you haven't even got to S-bombs yet. Dr. Alan Friedman on the S-bombs and stuff. That's a new thing when we were talking in 2020 on that. Let me see. Scrolly. Oh, Dave Kennedy. Okay. Offensive tool release. Okay. So I think we were talking about, um, tools released, utilized by bad guys. Okay. So, wow. It's very much, very much, well, it's the same shit over and over again, I guess. So, oh, there it is. So, anyway, John creates some software at his company that helps supposedly defend against this. We may have him back on in a couple of weeks. I'm all caught up on the podcast, or mostly recaps because I catch it first on stream, and that's true. If you do listen to the podcast, they're pretty much our streams here that I've converted over because it makes sense to not have to do yet another podcast again. And for the good part of it, I put the links to anything we talk about on the podcast in the show notes on the podcast, from the stream into the podcast. So they have UEFI, for those of you who don't know, short for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. It's the low-level and complex chain of firmware responsible for booting up every modern computer. Used to be BIOS, Phoenix, I think it's, what was it, AM something, American Megatrends, AMT, had a BIOS at one time, I think. And so because, we wanted to make things complicated, UEFI came around. Windows required it. Computer manufacturers got in bed with Windows and made it nigh impossible for things like Linux to boot up inside without some kind of janky workaround. And I think they fixed that. Like the article says, UEFI is an OS in its own right. It runs, I believe, oh God, I wanted to say it was Minix, but I could be wrong. UEFI, I believe it's like Minix or some kind of like small Linux version thing here. Independent platform and programming language of C is used for reference implementation on Tiano EDK2. EFI United Extensible Firmware Interface version 2 added cryptography and security, and that was where everything went pear-shaped. UEFI 2, yes. Okay, Microsoft Project Mu, a fork of Tiano Core EDK2 used in Surface and Hyper-V products, promoted the idea of firmware as a service. Advantages, ability to boot a disk containing 2 terabytes because some of the older BIOSes, you couldn't do that. You had to create like a small boot drive that, you could, boot up to, which is, why back in the day you had to create a smaller one. One of the main focuses on Windows 11 was to make more secure using secure boot and TPM with cert signatures. This rootkit makes all that a moot point because it can bypass secure boot. Absolutely right, Digital Warhead. So they said, as appealing as is to threat actors to install nearly invisible malware that has kernel level access, there are a few formidable hurdles standing in the way. One is the requirement that they first hack the device and gain admin rights, either by exploiting one or more vulnerabilities in the OS or apps, or by tricking a user into installing Trojanized software. you don't really have to trick somebody. You just have to send them a PDF and say, sign this, or open it and sign this, and then you've got your shell. Right after this high bar is cleared, the threat actor can attempt the installation of a boot kit. I have to ask why, though. I mean, persistence is great, but there are still organizations that users are running as root. So unless you're wanting some kind of persistence that allows that to happen, I'm not quite understanding the need for this. It sounds nice, and I'm sure at some point in the near future they will have something for that. Patching, if the UEFI needs patching, that's going to be a problem because, trying to get users to patch their BIOS, unless Windows can push it out as part of one of their Windows updates, is great, but I can't imagine it's just that simple. Second thing standing in the way of UEFI attacks is secure boot, an industry-wide standard that uses cryptographic signatures to ensure each piece of software used during startup is trusted by the manufacturer. On Wednesday, they presented a deep dive analysis, or analysis, as I like to say, of the world's first in the wild UEFI bootkit bypasses secure boot on fully updated UEFI systems running Windows 10 or 11. There are no strings or other indicators directly showing the name of the creators or bootkit. ESET has concluded that it almost certainly corresponds to a bootkit known as Black Lotus. It's been advertised on cybercrime forums. Price $5,000. Oh, hey, cool! You get updates. That's sweet. Very cool. So Baton Drop POC published on GitHub. First Black Lotus installer virus total submission. Okay, so that was in 2022. Bootkit advertisement published on Hacker Forum. Okay. First mention in a Register article and first detections of ESET telemetry in October. Further suspicious detections in ESET telemetry, Black Lotus user component HTTP downloader. Okay, so there's an HTTP component, or HTTPS in this case. And then between October and March, nothing happened. And then they say, first in-depth analysis of the bootkit published by ESET. Here's a link to that. Drink. There we go. What's this? What's this? What's this? 1 second. I may have a package outside. There's motion at your dining room. Oh, okay. Not really. Oh, cool. Blacks in Cybersecurity is running a stream right now. So, all right. So Black Lotus, very powerful. UEFI kits may lose on stealthiness when compared to firmware implants such as LoJax, the first in the wild UEFI firmware implant discovered by our team in 2018. Boot kits are located on easily accessible FAT32 disk partition. However, running as a bootloader gives them almost the same capabilities as a firmware implant, but without having to overcome flash defenses such as BWE, BLE, and PRX protection bits. See, you just lost me. If you're going to write a technical document like this, please spell out what BWE, BLE, and PRX is, because you may be talking to somebody with a 5th grade reading level. Firmware. What was that? Was that a firmware? Protection bits. Okay. BWE firmware protection bits. Okay. Well, if anybody knows what a BWE or a BLE or a PRX is, that, those are. Thank you, Digital Warhead. So yeah, there's apparently they can bypass, SPI flashes and other protection bits. Hardware protections like Intel Boot Guard, and a non-negligible number of known vulnerabilities that allow bypassing essential security mechanisms. And the worst of this is that some of them are easily exploitable on up-to-the-date systems, even at the time of this writing, including the one exploited by Black Lotus. Okay, key points, latest fully patched, whatever. It exploits a more than 1-year-old vulnerability to bypass secure boot and set up persistence for the boot kit. So, wow. Okay. So there's a lot here. Good job, CVE. Good job, MITRE. Good job. Way to not put shit out there. Well, I guess it does go to a link to yet another thing where there's not really anything in there. So, uh, with really no information either. So that's great too. Exploitation is less likely. Interesting. Interesting. And then, of course, you click this link and it takes you right back to the other side. Man, talk about a recursive loop here. Okay, so there's nothing in either one of those links of any note that you need to worry about. And I'm sure that they're trying to not give out as much information as they can. So, interestingly, some of the Black Lotus installers do not proceed with bootkit installation if the compromise hosts you one of the following locales: Romanian, Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Armenian, or Kazakhstan. Or Kazakh, anyway, from Kazakhstan. Interesting. Main goal is to deploy kernel driver, which, among other things, protects the bootkit from removal, and an HTTP downloader responsible for communication with the CNC and capable of downloading additional user mode or kernel mode payloads. Okay, so we read that, and that's great. Whatever. Is it really Black Lotus? Black Lotus advertisements on hacking forums claims it features integrated secure boot bypass. It exploits 21894 in order to break secure boot and achieve persistence. Vulnerable drivers it uses are still not revoked in the latest DBX. DBX is? I know what BWNPRX are in flash memory and SPI interface. I'm assuming that's what we're talking about. They're active memory protection masks. Oh, okay. All right. Very cool, Lady P. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm an idiot, and this is the humility talking from the previous discussion that we had. If you're going to use an acronym, please tell us what the fucking acronym is. Don't assume I know what the hell you're talking about, because I can't think good and talk pretty to that. So it's something that gets me at work when I see people writing these big long documents, and it's like, treat me like I don't, like I'm Joe Dogwalker and I don't know shit, because I'm gonna treat this like I don't know anything, and the minute I start asking questions like, "What's this?" I'm gonna start losing interest. So, but thank you, Lady P. Appreciate that. Okay, close that. Yes, explain like I'm 5. Exactly. Exactly. The irony digital warhead of ELI 5 and not explaining what ELI 5 is not lost on me. That's pretty cool. Our investigation started with a few hits on what turned out to be Black Lotus user component and a downloader in our telemetry late 2022. After initial assessment, code patterns found in the samples brought us to the discovery of 6 Black Lotus installers, both on VirusTotal and their own telemetry. Consistently endeavor to eschew obfuscation. Okay, so did I just did I okay, did it okay, I'm not stupid. They put the same section in here like twice. So the timeline, they're saying again, well, they put the same shit in here twice, including the FAQ. Is it really Black Lotus? Oh no, they didn't. See, somehow I ended up with the page going back up top, and I thought that was it again. So here's a nice little attacker bit. So the attackers execute the installer, deploys the root bootkit, and reboots the machine. Oh, excuse me. System starts, the UEFI firmware runs, starts the vulnerable booting mgfw.efi. It exploits the vulnerability setting up persistence using mock, which is, I know this one. Mock is the, I actually had to deal with this on my laptop. Machine key, owner key, yeah. So it's So it's a key that they use to be able to load things like your bootloader, your grub, or what have you. I had a lot of problems with this with my, was it this one? Yeah, I think it was this box. I was trying to put Ubuntu back on or Fedora because I'm glutton for punishment again. It's almost like birth. You forget the first 8 times you've done it, and then it's like, oh, it'll be different this time. And then it's like, oh, I remember, I hate my life. And it's like you've spent hundreds of hours on it. Well, I wouldn't know about giving birth, but I mean, I was there, but I was just spectator on the sideline. Anyway, this is beside the point. It exploits setting up persistence using the machine owner key, and then enrolls the attacker's MOK key. Okay, so what that does is, all right, so by setting up the MOK, it sets up a trust relationship in NVM RAM and in the list so that the UEFI will read the key, and because the key has been registered successfully, the UEFI is trusted, and the EFI bit is signed, and it runs. Here you go. You can read about memory protections here. Thank you so much, Lady P. So yeah, so it runs the Microsoft signed shim. So it executes a legitimate shim. So it says, hey, I have a Microsoft signed shim called bootmgfw.efi, but it registers the key for what it's about to run on the side as everything is waiting. So that way, when the system goes in and verifies the key, the bad key has been verified. It verifies the key and then runs the shim, which runs the grub x64 EFI, starts the OS and installs the memory hooks, Windows boot, Black Lotus hooks, executes the kernel driver, injects winlogon.exe, and then activates the downloader, which then communicates to CNC, and then it handles the CNC, and then lather, rinse, repeat. Pretty cool. Okay. Because the MOK, because now that you've exploited the persistence here, you can put in whatever keys you want inside of your system. Is it a bypass, though? Of course, this is executed only on the first, yeah, because once the key is registered, it's registered for good, unless you were to go in somehow and figure out a way to unenroll all the keys inside your UEFI. That might actually, let's stop it. You did your job 9 months. You should see the look my wife gives me when she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that day. It was crazy day." And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't remember that. I just remember taking a quick trip to the hospital and coming home with something." Yeah, me and my wife, she loves my sense of humor, I think. So, but so yeah, once the key has been registered, it feels like the only way to get this to no longer work would be to remove the offending keys. But even so, once, now that the boot has happened and these have, and then you'd have to eradicate all the bits underneath. That's what it feels like to me. Mock-util yes, mock-util. I had to deal with mock-util more than a few times and failed miserably on that. Yeah, well, mock-util only works if you're running Ubuntu on the box ahead of time. I was actually trying to dual boot this box yet again, and then I realized that I hate myself, and that's why I try to do that. Put Linux on shit. But yes, if you're running Linux, there is a way in mock-util to make this happen. But it sounds like you can do it from a live. But yeah, yeah. My problem is I have memory errors on my computer, which I don't quite understand why, and I can't get rid of them. I've tried BC Edit, I've tried, clearing them in the BIOS, but it doesn't work. So, yeah, you can, list out your keys like Lady P said from a live boot. You can go in and look and see what keys are in there. So the artifacts, they go down here to the artifacts. They have issue. CN is from when they cry. CA. Instead of making it a legit CA, because they don't need to make it a legit CA. Code is full of references from Higurashi When They Cry anime series. For example, individual components such as Higurashi installer UAC module.dll and kernel sys. Okay. Lady P says mock util list enrolled, right? Or mock util export, right? in Linux. Additionally, the code decrypts but never uses various strings containing messages from Black Lotus author. Note that Hashirazad is a well-known researcher and author of various malware analysis tools, or just some random quotes from various songs, games, or series. So, wow. So the malware actors, the malware creators, knew at some point Hashirazad would be looking at their malware, almost like Hashirazad is the Brian Krebs of malware actors in this case. So, so lady said you can delete the key, but so the infection would still exist, I would think, Lady P, and then or you can blow it out in a hurry if you need to with reset. Yeah, I mean, the nuclear option is to reset all the keys in your BIOS, and then everything's gone. I don't know what would happen at that point. I would imagine you wouldn't be able to boot your machine. So, I mean, that would be tantamount to pretty much format C:, I think, because you couldn't unlock the bootloader, grub or Windows manager or boot manager or whatever, and because there'd be no keys to validate those installations, I'm assuming that would be what happened. I don't think anybody in their right mind would actually use that nuclear option without knowing exactly what was going on with that. So it's a good write up. I'm only through like a quarter of the page, so there was still a lot of traffic here. It's obvious that somebody did take a lot of time and effort to write this out, so I would suggest going and checking that. You can boot, unsecure, and then clean up. Oh, okay. Yeah, see me, it's like I would have sweat in odd places and wonder if I was going to be able to get all of my, uh, stuff back in my Windows install. And the reason I have Windows 10 on here now is because Windows 11 isn't supposed to run on this box, and I've got a few more years of updates on this. But I'm vulnerable to Black Lotus at this point. So they keep saying Windows. I guess if you're running Linux, you're safe. Or safer in this case. I don't see anything. I mean, they mention a grub EFI right here on this, but yeah, I'm not sure. Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, there's UEFI revocation list. Okay, so this is the DBX they were talking about with the revocation list. I'm assuming this is like a list of CAs that should be revoked or not allowed to be used. Verifying the keys for those DBX files. Yep. Okay. Stealthy UEFI. So it's kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot to pull up here. Oh, okay. So they go through a lot of the same pictures that they've pulled off the internet for that. Here's the deploying file names: grubx64, Black Lotus rootkit, self-signed malicious UEFI application, legitimate signed shim binary, temporary name later replaces. Okay, so they rename it, gets renamed after the exploitation. So, like they said, it's part of an OS, so there must be commands inside the UEFI that allows it to do things like rename files. Not sure exactly why, but legitimate but vulnerable Windows boot manager binary, so that the boot mgfw.efi. Okay, I see that. Embedded in the installer or download directly from Microsoft Symbol Store. BCD boot configuration data, right? BCDR original BCD store. So yeah, there's a lot of good artifacts in here, and a pretty decent write up. Goes through and shows you all of the stuff. So sets the enabled registry value to hypervisor enforced code integrity registry to 0. Wonder why it does that. Let's see. Several protection features, with the most prominent being one, HVCI, which also comes as a standalone feature. HVCI enforces code integrity, and the kernel allows only signed code to be executed. It effectively prevents vulnerable drivers from being abused to execute unsigned kernel code. Interesting. And it seems that malware abusing vulnerable drivers to load malicious code was the motivations behind Microsoft setting that up. Wow. Oh, see, Lady P's on it. There you go. There's commands, linuxhint.com, UEFI interactive. So it has a clear command, echo, alias, help, set, map, cd and ls, copy, move, rm. Okay, so you're not renaming it. You would probably mv it, or you'd probably copy, grub x64 EFI, or happyshim.efi to the one that they had mentioned, the boot mg fw.efi. Yep. Yeah. So it's not necessarily, yeah. So move or copy. Hell, they could edit the file. If they're in the UEFI, then they have basically like system access. I don't think there's role-based access inside of UEFI. So here's the shell and FS1, certain storage devices, reading thumb drives from the UEFI shell. Oh, okay. So you can go in using, what is this, Aptio? What does it say? Aptio setup utility, American Megatrends. Okay. So you can actually start an internal shell from the boot manager. It's pretty sweet. And then here's the shell version. It shows you all the different hard disks and block devices. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Good link there, Lady P. Appreciate that. That's good to know. CLS is clearing inputs. Yeah, a lot of this is very much Linux. That's why I said I thought UEFI was like a Minix clone or something like that, which is what used to be around before Linux was a thing, but I could be wrong. I don't want to be right about that. So UEFI Minix. Oh, that's okay. I was thinking yeah. Okay, so there was maybe at one time something like that, Minix-based Intel firmware close, or yeah. So at one time there was a Minix version for Intel managed engine. That's the thing. I think that's the thing that's on like NIC, network interface cards. I didn't want to say NIC cards because it's a thing. On network interface cards, that was a really bad vulnerability back in the day. Basically running as bad as UEFI, I think, at the time. So Intel Management Engine, right? Yep, security issues have been found. Yeah, remote AMT vulnerability. Yeah, that was when I remember 2017 was a very good year for that, I think. So, yeah, that one took a while. That one was painful. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. So, so it's a good write-up. I would say continue on through. I mean, it goes and it goes and it goes. Some of this may be because their screenshots are super damn big. Here's more information about the persistence on the rootkit, establishing persistence in the EFI system partition. Oh, okay. Having had to yank grub out of Windows and using things like disk util. Was it disk util? That's what I get for trying to think of shit on the fly. Was it? Yeah, it's CLI, I think. Disk part. My bad. Disk part. This is how I would go in. I'd have to mount the EFI drive and pull the the grub bits out so that I could obliterate the dual booting on my laptop and stuff. So disk part is what I was looking for. So so yeah, you can continue flowing through here. Somebody did a lot of work on this. Maybe that's why it took them 5 months to compile this document and run it through the tech writer and make sure that it was all good to go. So, they took a good amount of time to fill this out. So you should go and do what you can to keep track of this. There's some excellent IOCs down here. Um, you know, you run this and find you've got IOCs on your network that match any of these. I feel bad for you. Apologies for some of the ugly words there. Yeah. Oh, it looks like they have miter attack techniques of miter framework stuff, so that's pretty good too. Anyway, so that was a good little write up, good little read there. I saw that. Maybe we'll have John back on in the next few weeks to talk about that. If you're actually hardcore, you debug fdisk, then load the partition table. I used fdisk quite a bit when I was in Unix and in OpenBSD. I loved fdisk. I actually thought it was way easier to use when partitioning than Linux's version. Let's see, fdisk, OpenBSD. I still say the easiest install I ever did was that. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you just go in, you set, your partitions 1, 2, or 3 at the time. I mean, it's super simple when I was using OpenBSD to set up everything that I needed, right down to the block, header, and sector. And it just worked, right? I wouldn't use OpenBSD again because yeah, Digital Warhead. I was trained as a weather observer, but through a chance of fate, when I was younger, my mother gave me an 8088 computer. 8088. What is that? What was that 8088 IBM clone with the turbo button on it and everything? No, nothing these fancy. These are all not fancy. Let's see. No, that's garbage. That's garbage. Now mine had like 2 5 1/4 floppies. It wasn't this. It was an all white box with a turbo button on it and everything. And I did everything. It had an emulator which would emulate EGA graphics. So I had EGA graphics, but I taught myself batch programming. And I went to A school, and we had computers in the lab. We were still hand drawing our synoptic charts, which is where you plot all the data from like weather stations, and then you plot like where the highs and lows are, and where the ISO bars is, and where the areas of equal temperature is. And we had computer problems, and I was able to fix the computer issues for, at the time, AG1 Plavnik. And because of that, and because I told him the truth when he tried to wash me out of school, so I didn't go to the fleet and does it. Oh, that's almost it. That is it. That is the computer right there. Yeah, got the little soda pop bottle key, which I never figured out what that was for. And then the green turbo button and the red reset button, and then it had 2 5 1/4 floppies, and even the big fat power supply on the back. Okay, and it weighed about 150 pounds. That's that. Oh my god! And the drives were white, not black. But yeah, that's it. That is it. Ran DOS 4, DOS 622 very easily, very easily. Oh no, Lady P is trying to hack the Matrix. What is this? 100 move. I want to. The key was a keyboard lock. You mean so I couldn't pull the keyboard out of the back of the computer there, Lady P? I got to tell you, I don't know what kind of security threat a keyboard would have been back in the day, but oh, a disabled keyboard input. Oh, I never had a key for it. Never had a key for it. Actually, my father had a bunch of soda machine keys, but I doubt that would have worked. But yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, $300. Nope, nope, I can't buy shit like that. Nope, nope, I'd have no place to put it. It would run DOS. It would run free DOS, I bet. But yeah, so I managed to fix one of the computers, and AG1 Plavnik, now he was chief last time I heard, um, suggested that I go to Monterey, California, where we did numerical weather modeling. So I was an AG there, AGAR, E1, and turbo button was opposite of what you'd expected. Turbo on slowed the machine down to allow backward compatibility. Don't make that mistake. Wait a minute. I always had the green button pushed in and powered on. I never undid that because it made things faster for me. That's really weird. I never noticed the slowdown. I was like, turbo. Gotta have turbo. Turbo's for me. That's what it is. Um, yeah, basically locking out unauthorized users. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, I taught myself batch programming and GW Basic from manuals and things, and hacking my grandfather's text-based games that he would send me in the. Yeah, everybody wants turbo digital warhead. I want it to go super fast. Um, and so yeah, I ended up working in IT because that was just the way it was, and still loved weather, but I was helping support weather operations by doing things like building Red Hat Linux, you know, boxes on Sunfire 280Rs and web pages, and learning web HTML and style sheets and tableless output. And yeah, and then, just got out of the Navy after 7 years with an IT job because I didn't want to go to a ship. So got a 386-33. Yeah, see, I was envious of my friends who had the 386s, the DX. He had a 386 DX2, I think, with a CGA monitor. And I was like, because he could play Wolfenstein and stuff. God, that sucked. Yeah, I remember I was an ungrateful child. I remember, I still remember standing on the deck when my mom came around the corner carrying that big ass machine. And I think she bought it in Rolla. Um, and I said, "Oh, mom, the new 486 SXs are out. What is this?" Because I was an asshole child. I was an ungrateful asshole child. Um, and yeah, she was. I don't remember what her response was, but she probably told me I was an ungrateful child. But yeah, I mean, I managed to make it work. I played several text-based games. Traded games like Mofo back then. Um, Played several basic games. I saw something just recently. Somebody recreated basic programming or something. Something I saw like in the news or on a blog post where somebody said they had recreated. Yeah, that's it. Mine was GW Basic. It wasn't just Basic. But, I don't know why it was GW Basic. Dialect of the Basic Language by Microsoft by IBM Basica. I was a starving grad student, ran Herc to CGA, a TSR that would emulate CGA with a monochrome Hercules card. I don't know what kind of graphics card I had because I was actually a little afraid to crack open the shell on my box, but I had a TSR program very similar to your Herc to CGA, but it would you plug the disk in, the floppy, and then you would run it. And oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's a beautiful thing right there. Yeah, I never understood what like LPT1 was. I think that was output to a printer. Now that I think about it, now that I've learned, Tron and Troff were trace on and trace off, or like debugging or something. Never quite understood what key was. Never used it because I was afraid to do so. Um, but yeah, F3 load, Orb of Zot, and yeah, did it, did it. Yeah, line printer. Yeah, I know that. It just occurred to me now, but as I was, you know, 12 and 13-year-old me had no idea what an LPT1 was. But yeah, Tron and Troff I think were trace on and trace off, where you could debug or trace through um, applications. But yeah, good times, good times. I want to say somebody recreated GW Basic or something, a G Whiz Basic. No, I just called it Basic. But there were a lot of games out there for Basic. Orb of Zot, which I think Basic games. Yeah, there you go. Orb of Zot. Yeah. I didn't even have any no, we didn't have fancy graphics. None of that. None of that. Ugh, gross. Gorilla. Yeah, Gorilla was fun. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's not 8-bit. Yeah. But there was a lot of games. I think I don't know how my grandfather got them. If he was subscribed to a magazine or something that would put them out or something like that. Oh wow, they had Orb of Zot ported to. Okay, none of these existed. None of these pictures did not exist. So they've added these as a thing. No, there wasn't a giant list of characters. It was you were going to be an elf, a dwarf, or a human. That was it. God bless. Killing me. People. Let me see. GW Basic. Basic UI. There was a screen. It had a. Let's see, where was it? No, no, no. This is all too fancy. These are definitely not any of the basic games. Text. There you go. Yeah, there we go. Many cycles ago. Yeah, Dick, the Gnomic Wizard. Oh, I'm sorry, Elf, Dwarf, Man, or Hobbit. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, this is far too fancy. This is exactly what it is right here. Yeah. Oh, they had. Wow. Okay. If the clock runs out, Zot finds you and heavily drains you, killing adventurers who've already been weakened. Yeah. There was like books as you could open that would increase your intelligence or strength or dexterity. The magic you could cast, but if you cast a death spell too often or the critters were too intelligent, you would actually kill yourself. Until I figured out how to hack that part and make it so that my intelligence was like 25, and then I could cast death spell, web, and fireball were the 3 spells in the system. So. Easy there, Lady P. Zork, really? Come on, man. I mean, Zork is okay. I played it a little bit. No, not Zork. Jesus, man. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that one. It was pretty fun too. I got bored after a while because I didn't know where to go. Right. This is the one where it's like you're walking up to a house or something like that, and yeah, get lamp. Yeah. Oh god, that annoyed the fuck out of me. I could never beat that shit. You ever play Spaceship Warlock? No, I did not. Spaceship Warlock. Maybe we'll have to do some retro gaming, like real retro gaming, and not like what these young kids do. Like, oh, we're gonna play Warcraft. Spaceship Warlock. Nah, this looks too new. This has like graphics and fancy shit. Digital Warhead. It's because you're young punks. I actually found a Descent. I had all the Descent of I played Descent so much I got sick. Uh, no, not the movie. Oh, yeah, this here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, good old games. Yeah, ran it back in the 70s from the first time, but my RC214 runs CPM and runs Zork just fine. Descent is a fun game. 3-dimensional. Uh, I I don't know if I could play it now, but I had like the expanded version and everything. I found that people are online actually recreating it. I think it's called Open Descent now. Open Descent. See, this is retro gaming. So, for me anyway. Descent on Steam, yeah, Steam has the Descent versions, all of them, including all the add-ons. There's a lot of like players that have custom maps and stuff, and there's a map editor for Descent where you can actually make your own maps. I bought this, I think, at one point. So Descent 2, Descent, the Descenting, I think, and then they had the lost levels and stuff. But you fight other bad guys and you get power ups and things. It's kind of like Doom and Wolfenstein, but I mean it is smooth. I mean you got yeah, and you fight the bad guys there. Yeah, get that guy. Get his ass. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. Digital Warhead, Lady P. At some point, we probably should play some Descent on here, because it's got such low requirements. I think would be fine. Rogue. Okay, see, I didn't have any of the cool pictures and stuff with the game boxes. A lot of times the stuff my grandfather would bring me was just a floppy. He probably copied himself. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I played NetHack. Oh my god, I hated NetHack. I've tried NetHack so many times. And Slash 'em, I've tried those too. I just don't get NetHack. I don't know if that's a bridge too far, and that shows me how on the spectrum I am, but I can never make it past the mines. Like level 5, I think level 5 is the furthest I've ever made it. Even though I've seen so many freaking walkthroughs, it's like, you know, I usually starve, or I end up I have to pick a wizard, and I have to pick god mode so I can cheat my way around things. But by the time I get to level 5, I lose interest. Yeah, I love Rogue. Rogue is excellent. Um, yeah, I remember playing this. Yeah, it's good times. Not with colors though. Not with colors though. Oh, I hate NetHack. Oh my god. I tried. I did. I really tried to play the game. To the point where I was like, I need a different icon. Maybe I need an icon or tile set that would work. But yeah, I can't do it. I just can't. I don't understand it. It's not logical for me. Dropping rings inside of sinks. Fuck. You know, I don't get it. So, yeah. But ew, I got it on me. Ooh, delete, delete, delete. Delete that. Yeah. Anyway, all right, y'all. Well, this was, hope everyone enjoyed themselves. We will. I think we probably should, have a game night or something at some point and play something good. Like, we can play. Oh, I know NetHack is still updated. It's still annoying as shit. That's why I avoid it. Because that way leads to danger and ickiness. So, but yeah, I love me some Descent. I love Descent. Excellent game. I actually have it on. I actually got Diablo too. I had Diablo in my no Diablo as well. Um, well, I have Diablo 2, the sequel, and 3. But yeah, it's fun. Descent it was like what I wanted Doom to be, and that was fun. So anyway, I'm gonna go. Thank y'all hanging out, and we'll be on Friday for some Go Lang time, and we'll have to schedule some game time or something. I do want to do that. So yeah. Complaints tended to focus on the frequency for the player to become disoriented and induce motion sickness. 100%. I don't know. My wife's cooking something. Um, yeah. Oh, well, Lady P, it's okay. I would need help and hints anyway. So, the idea wouldn't be to not be completely stuck. So, I'd be up for that, Lady P. I don't know what's for dinner, but I'm gonna go find out. So, Digital Warhead, Lady P, thank you so much. Thank you everyone else for coming and watching the VOD. And thank you, Super Lolly, for hooking us up with a resubscription. Very much appreciate that. And yeah, we'll be back on Friday. All right, take care, y'all. Night. Bye.